it's a fixed money supply, the economy will grind to a halt and so on. It won't be flexible, won't be dynamic. Nonsense, we can lend it as well as spend it. So in that case, we add on these two new money flows. The state lends it to, well, we don't want to lend it to any Tom, Dick or Harry perhaps. We want credit-worthy, what we might call principal borrowers. Typically a bank. And the banks could perhaps participate in reverse auction. The state could say, well, here's 100 billion new money, we're going to lend it to the best bids. Okay, you guys submit your IOUs and we'll choose the best one. So it's a nice free market way of doing it. It has a side effect that wholesale interest rates are set by the market and so on. So don't get fazed by people saying that our money supply is fixed and inflexible. There's other ways of doing it. Obviously the state can lend zero interest to public infrastructure projects as well. I'm just highlighting this because it's something I've been discussing with Bill Still, who's on the libertarian ticket, and he wants some free market answers to meet his critics. Right, here's a basic operation. It's how the banks make their profit, among other ways. It's the main way they do it. So banks have this neat way of adding numbers to your loan. You know, you take out a £100,000 mortgage and you look at it in a few months' time, and if you've not been meeting all your payments, it's suddenly 101,000. Conversely, all the people who are making deposits with the bank, they get some interest added to their accounts. Not much these days, and the difference between what's added to loans, what adds to the bank's assets, and what's added to the customer's deposits, which increases the bank's liabilities, that's called a spread and gives the bank a lot of its gross profit. It also, of course, charges fees and all sorts of other little niggly ways of getting money out of it. But basically, the interest rate spread is their business model. The bank, as we've seen, have operating costs, same as everybody else, leaving a net profit. And this net profit is then distributed, some of it to the shareholders, some is retained, and banks, as they go on year after year retaining profits, that increases that shareholders' capital account on the balance sheet. The bank gets more valuable to its shareholders. So here's a schematic of what happens to a balance sheet when the customer pays interest to the bank. Here's the balance sheet before assets. Remember, that's all the loans and so on. Liabilities, all the customer's deposits. Here's a customer with some money in the bank. Unfortunately, the bank is now demanding that money from him as interest. He pays it. What happens to the balance sheet? Well, the assets stay the same, all the loans. That money didn't get added to his loan. It's actually paid by him. Where does it go? Well, schematically, it ends up in the shareholders' capital account here, which grows by that amount. Other liabilities stay the same. Obviously, it goes through, in formal real-world accounting, will go through the profit and loss account. But profit and loss accounts are regularly reconciled into the balance sheet. So we can say schematically that this charge on the customer, the interest, is ending up, to a first approximation, as shareholders' capital. And remember, if you wind the bank up, this is perfectly spendable money. Yeah. Conversely, just when the bank pays a little bit of interest to a customer, well, here's the shareholders' capital account, and it shrinks, and the customers get some new money. That's a liability to the bank. So it's just the opposite of the previous slide. There's the